Well, thank you very much. It's nice to be here. I know some of you, but not all of you. I have a few faces I've seen here and there. Maybe NACCC, or as I was judging for you, I keep a couple of from the Boston Camera Club that I recognize. And I want to thank you. You know, I think years ago, if I saw a poster saying architectural photography, or I saw it on my website, I would think, I'm not really sure I'm into architectural photography. I don't know that I'd go, so I'm not quite sure why you're here. Maybe you're here because you tried to take an interior photograph of your home, or a restaurant, or your favorite library, or your friend's new candy shop or something, and you were unsuccessful, and you thought, maybe this show will show me how to make better pictures in interiors and exteriors. Or maybe you're here because you want to do some competitions. Some of the camera clubs have competitions, and architectural is one of the categories sometimes. And if you don't know how to do it, it's a little harder. Lynn Club had terrible. I was the one who said to them, "You need a show on architecture. I see your pictures. They're not good." Lynn Club is good on lots of things. Nature is phenomenal, and all, but their architecture was terrible. So I did the show. Then they had the competition, and the level went right up. So I'm happy to say it worked there. So, or maybe you're here because you just like architecture or architectural establishments. You know, I had an aunt, actually a great aunt. We used to think of her as eccentric. We would drive down the street. I was the driver. I think I was 16 years old, and she had said to me, "I just got my license," and I always had to bring her places, and she'd say, "Oh, look at that building," and "Oh, look at that." And here I am. I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road. Just got a license, and she said, "Oh, what were they thinking with that building?" And I would try looking, and I couldn't see the difference between one. They were just buildings to me. But sadly, I've turned into my aunt. Now I look at the building and I'm like, what were they thinking with that building? Look at this building. And my husband's just kind of like, well, you know, I can't see any difference in the buildings. So I have kind of grown and changed in my way that I view images and images of buildings too. I look for straight lines and all those things that we will talk about tonight. Maybe you're here because you know, maybe it's a Monday night, you want to get your money's worth, you had nothing else to do, so you came and got some refreshments. Whatever your motivation is for being here, whatever your skill level is, I hope that we raise it just a little bit with the architectural photography, a little more of an understanding and how to deal with it when you're trying to do it yourself. So a lot of times people think, oh, if she's an architectural photographer, she must just work for architects. Well, yes, I've worked for a few architects before, but often there are so many other places where you can work for just taking interior images. You can take home interiors, doctors' offices, lawyers, dentists, actually any office, schools, churches, restaurants, stores of any kind. They always need images. Museums, galleries, colleges, hotels, inns, bed and breakfast, or you may just want it for yourself. In other words, anytime there's a commercial space, and they have a website, which most commercial spaces do, obviously they're going to need some pictures for that. The good news is they need these pictures refreshed every 3 to 5 years. At least that's good news for me, not necessarily for them, because they don't want the old pictures and things to show any datedness, you know, anything that's dated. So once again, I'm out there shooting, and sometimes I do get a lot of repeat business. So Diane von Furstenberg, how many people know who she is? I had no idea. I'm like a farmer. I was down the Cape last summer, and I got a call. Usually I'm at home. My rule of thumb is if someone calls me, immediately I'm on the website finding out about their company, knowing what they do and so forth. But I was in the Cape, or actually I think it was in Newport or something. I didn't have my computer with me, and I thought, they said, can you stop in at our store? We're in Newbury Street in Boston on the way home, and we'll talk because we got your name, a couple of names. We want to see who can take some pictures of our place. So I said, sure, I'll stop in. And a week later, on my way home from Newport, when my car's kind of filled with stuff, I came in and I walked in and I said, oh, this is lovely, this is nice. How's business? And they said, oh, business is wonderful. And now here I am like a farmer. I said, really, even in this economy? Of course, our new princess from London shops there. So of course they have 1,000 stores around the world. I think they have 19 or something. And the business is phenomenal. One of the few places that are doing so well, she buys a little green dress, 900 people buy that same green dress. So of course their business is fabulous. And I'm saying, really, even in this kind of an economy? I didn't know who she was. Now I know what her story is. So I took that. If you're taking pictures of an interior of a space where there's a logo, always try to get the logo in if possible for some of the images. And I did it here. And those are the ones they're posting on the website, the ones with the logos in there. And one more. And then just you know, they're just not as contrasty as they usually are, but I think you can still see them. And then they just said, come in and take 20 pictures of anything. I like those kind of assignments. They just said, come in at 9 o'clock, we'll open our doors at 11, you got two hours to take 20 pictures. If you need to come back, come on tomorrow morning, do the same thing. Okay, and equipment, we're going to go through this a little bit more in detail later. But cameras, I always bring two. You never want to get on a job and find out that you didn't have the right equipment with you, or one of your cameras breaks, or something. Always bring more than you need, of course. Lenses, it says that I bring two. Actually, I bring four. I have a tilt and shift, a couple of wide-angle lenses. Once in a while, they'll say we need to do a macro thing. I have that. So I bring sometimes 4 or 5 lenses just in case I need them. Most of the time, I use one lens the whole time. Cable release is important. Photoshop, if you have it, or even Elements. Some image-altering program. A grade card's helpful right on the job. 2 strobes with umbrellas if you're going to light it. We're going to talk about 2 different ways to light it. Pepper lights, I want to show you what a pepper light is. This is one of my favorite things. If I'm lighting a space, now if I'm doing HDR, it's different. But if I'm lighting a space, I use a little pepper light. And I take a meter reading, it's F8, 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 F8. Whoops, this is only F5, 6 down the bottom. Very often dark areas, bottom areas are just going to need a little extra light. And I take this little pepper light. It has no gadgets on it other than on and off. It does have a little diffuser, but it's amazing the amount of light this puts out. It's more than your flash, not as big as my studio strobes, and I just kind of hide a few pepper lights. And when your light goes off, when my lights go off, this goes off with it. And the good news is you can kind of hide it anywhere. You know, you just put it so people won't see it, and then at the end there are no wires. It's very easy. The bad news also is that it's very small, and we leave them places. I have no idea what they do with these pepper lights afterwards, but we've lost about 30 of them, through the last 5 or 6 years. Now I'm doing a little more digital, so we're not losing them, but it's wonderful. They're on. They used to be on Photographer's Warehouse. Now I think you can get them on Amazon. They used to be $18, now they're $29, but they've gone up. But I use them everywhere. You can even use them for a portrait as a backlight. If you've got 2 lights in the front, you want a little hair light or backlight, they're wonderful. So those are pepper lights. They're actually called Morris Mini Slaves if you want to buy them for about $25 or $30. Okay, so the first rule I want to show you is vertical lines. Now, I'm going to tell you 2 very important things today. If you walk away with just these 2 concepts, you'll know a whole lot more about how to take good photographs. The first thing is all vertical lines must show up as straight and parallel to each other and parallel to the side of the frame. We've all seen that parallax, that keystoning kind of thing that goes on. That's great for fun photography, that's great for effect and so forth, but for good photography, for websites and for commercial use, you don't want that. Anything that's permanent is what we're looking for. So the cabinets, the brickwork, anything that's stationary. We don't want to worry about curtains. And this is vertical line, and this is also, but that's a curtain. So we're not worried about curtains because this one happens to be straight, but sometimes people say, well, everything seems pretty straight. I went by the curtains. You can't do that. So next. And we don't want to go by artwork. Again, it's something that's structurally part of the establishment. Years ago when they had the Hunt Show in Boston, and they had all the representatives from all the different camera places, and I went to the Canon people and I said, do you have one of those lenses that makes the pictures come out straight? And he said, what do you say? I don't know what you're saying. And I was ready to spend $2,500 on a, he said, ma'am, I said, well, maybe it's the camera. He said, no, I think it's you. If you take your camera and you hold it perfectly level, if you tip it forward, the lines are going to go askew. If you turn it upward a little bit, which is usually the problem because there's a ceiling, your lines are going to have that keystoning problem. If you turn it to one side, of course, or the other. So get a level, and you put a level on the top. You can put a level on the front, the side, the front, wherever. Make sure it's plumb to the earth. And voila, your pictures come out straight. The lines are straight. It took me a long time. I'm saying, why do these lines always look like this? This is years ago before I got into it. But I learned quickly that all you need to do is be sure that they're straight. We used to I did some work at New England School of Photography, and we would give the kids levels. We'd bring levels for them to realize. After a while, you get used to knowing when it doesn't even mean the tripod needs to be straight. You could be on an incline, and you'll see that. As long as your camera and lens are plumb to the earth, then it works. And sometimes it's pretty easy if you have a building like this. There are lots of lines, mirrors, and so forth. This is a company I work for, Aimco, and it's so nice. You go in there. Some people even have grids on the front of their lenses. They can put them through with their cameras, and you can line them up that way, or you just pretty much see it. It's not hard to do. if the lines are like this. But if the lines are like this is a little bit more difficult because there really aren't too many permanent lines. There's one there, the banisters are, and the railings, but sometimes you just have to know that it's straight. Okay? And if you're low and you're looking up high, you still want straight lines. You can use a tilt and shift lens. You can actually use a lens that is a wider angle than you need, which will include a lot more things. This may have included way down here, but then you can crop off what you do need or crop out what you're looking for. Wide angle lenses will get more into the picture, and then you just get out of it what you want. And then when you're looking down, it's the same thing. You're up high looking down, but again, you still need those lines, and that's where your problems usually come in, when you're looking up or you're looking down. But again, we'll talk a little bit more on how to do this, and if you don't do it in your camera, you can sometimes do it on your own back in Photoshop with transformation. Not the best way to do it because you're interpolating, you're making up pixels. You know, if I'm just doing it for fun, taking pictures of things, I'll just fix it later in Photoshop. But if you're working for a company, they can tell when it gets a little bit blurry, the more you do it, and the more your lines are off, the blurrier it will get. So companies will frown upon that. So it's best to get it straight right from the beginning. Okay. This little shop is right here in Newton. Luke's Couture. I had never heard of it. They called me. I actually did work for an architect here. He had built this structure here and that, and he wanted that in and so forth. This is actually a curtain, which you can't see, and this was bowed, so it was not too much to go on, but it was pretty straight. It's pretty straightforward to know that what's going to be straight and what's not. But one funny thing that happened is we made quite a bit of money. We worked for a couple of days for this. It's actually a purse store, a pocketbook store. They have shirts and a few other things for sale, but it's mostly pocketbooks. So my assistant was with me, and it was a female assistant, and I said, "Oh, these purses are kind of cute. I don't always spend $300 on a purse," but she said, "You need to look again. They're $3,000 a purse." I said, "We're not buying," and I just said, "Well, we're making a lot of money here." She said, $300 we could buy, but no, I don't want to spend my $3,000 on that. So we didn't buy, needless to say, but we took some pictures. Okay. So, but then you get obsessed. Do you know Scott Kelby? Do you people know who Scott Kelby is? He's one of the gurus in Photoshop, and he's written 43,000 books. He's just a genius about everything. He's also a genius about font, writing. And he said, you kind of get obsessed. I told my wife all the things I needed to, all the things I knew about font. I get obsessed with a font. And he was telling us a story, and I thought it was kind of funny. He said, we go into a restaurant, and we look at the menu, and we'll say, what were they thinking with this font? She'll say, I can't eat here. And he says, I can't eat here either. So I don't know if it's true or not. He said, we leave the restaurant. That's kind of the way I am with pictures now. I'm obsessed. I look at these. If these lines aren't straight, I don't want to look at the rest of the book sometimes. Again, if it's for fun or it's just a whimsical kind of thing, that's one thing. But if it's for a job or some kind of something that's important, I want to see those straight lines.